We have Michael Penix Jr. and the Atlanta Falcons taking on Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. This is your Week 11, 2025 prediction and preview video. Let's just straight into it with the home team here, the Atlanta Falcons. This is a must-win game for Atlanta. And the reason why I say this, they have a 3-6 record entering this matchup. They're in third place in this division. You've already lost to the Carolina Panthers once this season in Week 3. And you've already lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 1. You have to go out there and win this game if you still want to have a chance to win this division and host a playoff game this postseason. And the Atlanta Falcons are also currently on a 4-game losing streak. You look at what happened last week against Indy. This game went to overtime, but they lost this game 31-25. Michael Penix Jr., 12 of 28, 177 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 0 interceptions. Bijan Robinson, 84 rushing yards on 17 carries. Average 5 yards a carry. The longest rush of the day went for 16 yards. But the best running back on the field last week, especially late in the matchup, was Tyler Algier. 57 rushing yards, averaged 5 yards a carry, but he had 2 rushing touchdowns. He was phenomenal in the fourth quarter. This is the one thing with Michael Penix Jr. this season. He has been wildly inconsistent. 9 passing touchdowns to 3 interceptions. We're heading into Week 11 here. Not terrible stats, but you're looking more out of a guy that you selected in the first round. Michael Penix Jr., accuracy has to be better. He missed a lot of passes last week, especially on third down. You can't have that against this Carolina Panthers team. And when you go back to Week 3, it was the worst game of Michael Penix Jr.'s career. 0 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And one of those interceptions was a pick 6 in Carolina. What he did against the San Francisco 49ers in the first half was phenomenal. In the second half, he cooled off. But against the New England Patriots, for 4 straight quarters, he played very well. And the same against Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Week 1. They have to get him into a groove. And he just needs to be better with that accuracy. It's the intermediate routes that he's struggling with right now. The deep ball is there. The short passes to Drake London and Kyle Pitts, they're there as well. But the medium accuracy and the intermediate routes, they have to be better with Michael Penix Jr. And the game planning has to be better as well with Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator. He loves pistol. The pistol formation did not work out against the Carolina Panthers in Week 3. They sat on top of those routes when in terms of being flat routes and routes underneath with those slants and those curls. And Michael Penix Jr. wasn't seeing the field clearly. If that happens in this matchup, you have to switch out the shotgun and give him more looks with Drake London on the outside, and the same with Kyle Pitts at the tight end position. And they have to get Darnell Mooney involved as a deep threat. I'm not saying that he has to go out there and have 150 receiving yards in this game, but there's a reason why you signed him in free agency. A year ago, he's one of the best deep threats in the NFL when given the opportunity. Stretch out the field with him and work off a play action. And when you look at this Panthers defense, they have been tough against running backs this season. But they don't have one of the best rushing defenses in the NFL. They have very good players up front with Derrick Brown, Tershawn Ward. And Christian Roseboom has played better. But the main engine to this offense with the Atlanta Falcons is Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. Get them involved in the space and use misdirection to your advantage. It just comes down to the play calls here with Zach Robinson. Can he make those adjustments? And can Michael Penix Jr. be more accurate in this matchup, especially with those tight window throws? And he just can't go out there and test the middle of the field. Lathan Ransom is over the top. They have to give more opportunities to other wide receivers in this matchup. Drake London is one of the best wide receivers in the game. In my opinion, you should put him inside the slot more in this game against the Carolina Panthers. Last week, he had 6 catches, 104 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. But J.C. Horn is one of the best cornerbacks in the game. You're going to trust your guy, obviously. But you'll have a more favorable matchup inside the slot. They're not going to put J.C. Horn inside the slot on Drake London. Move him around the field. The attention to detail needs to be there. But Darnell Mooney only having 1 catch for 17 receiving yards last week, that's criminal. They just need the offense to get into a better groove, and they need the offense to be better. As far as the offensive line here, you're in a good spot. Jake Matthews is fully healthy. Matthew at the left guard position, he will play in this game. You have Ryan at the center position. Chris Lindstrom is your best offensive lineman. He has been phenomenal. Now, he did not participate in practice on Wednesday, Be on lookout for that. He is still on pace to play in this game, but things can change. If he's not able to play in this matchup, that'll be a huge blow for the Atlanta Falcons. And you've been without Caleb McGarry for this entire season. He suffered a leg injury earlier this offseason. But the offensive line has still had good moments this year. And the one thing with Michael Penix Jr., he doesn't like to move outside the pocket. The decision making has to be better underneath. Let your playmakers make plays in space with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier, he's not going to catch the football out of the backfield like Bijan Robinson. So lean on him to be another wide receiver with this offense and bring in Tyler Algier in 3rd and 2 packages, especially on the goal line. I would not run QB sneak in this matchup with Michael Penix Jr. Just get nasty with your offensive line against the Carolina Panthers and work off of that play action. Now look at the defense here with the Atlanta Falcons. The passing defense is ranked first in the NFL for a reason. They can pin their ears back. They can get to the quarterback on a consistent basis. But you're 29th in rushing defense. Rico can take over a game, and the same with Chuba Hubbard. Put an extra defensive lineman on the field. Put an extra person in the front 7. You have to stop the run. Sell out to stop the run as much as possible. Now, Bryce Young, he can take those shots with Tedero McMillan underneath. He's an accurate quarterback in terms of 12 and 15 yards down the field as well. But it's the deep passes with Bryce Young. The reason why I'm saying sell out to stop the run, you can go out there, pin your ears back, and put pressure on Bryce Young. Make him beat you. And that is what the New Orleans Saints did last week. They only scored 7 points last week against the New Orleans Saints. They lost that matchup 17-7. They took away Rico, and they made sure that Bryce Young was going to be the sole reason why they would win that matchup, and he just wasn't able to. And this is the one thing with Coach Brick. He's done a very good job with the back end of this defense with rotating players around. With Jesse Bates, Billy Bowman. Their safety look is phenomenal this season. They've done a very good job of limiting those big plays deep down the field. Look at what they did against the Buffalo Bills a couple weeks ago, Monday Night Football. They blitzed the hell out of Josh Allen. And they played press covers on those wide receivers. Outside of Tedero McMillan, the Carolina Panthers, they don't have a consistent wide receiving threat. Jimmy Horn is more so of a gadget wide receiver. He has speed. They run a lot of end-around plays with him, a lot of jet sweep plays. But sideline to sideline, the Atlanta Falcons, they can keep up with that. You have edge rushers like Jalen Walker, who is tremendous this season, and the same with James Pierce Jr. They're physical and they're fast. Leonard Floyd, he can set the edge. David Onyemata and Ruka Roro, those are 2 very good interior defensive linemen to have. And you have Zach Harrison. You just have a lighter linebacking core. That's why you struggled against the run this season. And Caden Ellis is a phenomenal linebacker in terms of being a tackler and guarding tight ends in space. But you have to go out there and slow down the rushing attack with the Panthers and make it be 3rd and long for Bryce Young. If it's 3rd and 10, you can pin your ears back and then you have an extra defensive back on the field. You can play that nickel defense that Jeff Albrick loves to play. And that's the defensive coordinator with the Atlanta Falcons. Going back to week 3 here, the biggest reason why you lost that matchup was not because of Bryce Young and the offense of the Carolina Panthers. It was because Michael Penix Jr. and the offense cannot stay on schedule, and you struggle so much with the defensive looks of the Carolina Panthers. The defense was doing a solid job against Bryce Young. I know that he had an opening drive score when he rushed outside. He had the rushing touchdown. But that's just one play. And Parker Romo did miss 2 field goals in that matchup. Would have made too much of a difference because the offense let you down. But go out there with the same game plan and look at what the Saints did. You look at the wins this year with the Carolina Panthers against the Dallas Cowboys. They ran the football at a high clip with Rico over 200 yards from scrimmage, and the same against the Miami Dolphins. Now in that Dolphins game, Bryce Young proved that he could play from behind. They were down big. But not against a pass rush like this. You get a 2-possession lead, you should be fine in this matchup against the Carolina Panthers, but put all that pressure on Bryce Young, and I'll blitz him as well. I know last season he did a very good job against the blitz, especially those last 5 games, but we're not in last season anymore. This season, Bryce Young has not done well against pressure. He has not done well against the blitz, especially with blitzes coming out of the secondary. And that's what the Atlanta Falcons love to do. That's what they've done against Josh Allen. And that's what they also did against the San Francisco 49ers. In the first half, it worked. In the second half, not as much. And you have the home field advantage here. This is easily a must-win game for the Atlanta Falcons. Now let's talk about Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. Entering this matchup, they're currently in second place in the NFC South Division with a 5-5 record. And after going out there and having a great win against the Green Bay Packers, 16-13, they came up short last week against the Saints. They lost this matchup 17-7. Bryce Young was 17-25, 124 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. It's important to bring this up. Bryce Young has only had one game this season with over 200 passing yards, and that came in week 2 against the Arizona Cardinals. He was 35 of 55 with 328 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and 1 interception. It took him 55 pass attempts to have 300 passing yards in the game. And you were down for majority of that game against the Arizona Cardinals because he had to fumble for 6 early in that matchup. This is the thing here with Bryce Young. It's not all on Bryce. He has to play better with his rhythm and his timing. We all know that the engine of this offense is the run game, similar to the Atlanta Falcons. You have to get Rico going, and the same with Chuba Hubbard. But in order to get the run game going, you have to have a vertical threat in Carolina. The best and the most consistent wide receiver this season is your rookie, who you spent a first-round pick on, and Tedero McMillan, who looks like a superstar right now. 5 catches for 60 receiving yards last week. But the second leading receiver was JT Sanders at the tight end position. JT Sanders only had 32 receiving yards on 5 receptions. Jalen Coker, who was a very good wide receiver last season, 3 catches, 21 receiving yards. And he's still playing his way back into things because he missed the first couple games of the season this year dealing with a quad injury. They need more consistent players outside of Tedero McMillan. And I look at someone like Xavier Legette, who has not looked good this season, has some major drops last year, but he's been so inconsistent this year. He had 1 target last week, 0 catches, 0 receiving yards. He needs to be better. And this is the thing here with Dave Canales. You have to move your players around. Jimmy Horn was banged up to begin the season, but since he has been fully healthy, they've ran a lot of jet sweep plays with him. That doesn't bother me. What does bother me is the fact that you don't let him go out there and you're not letting him be a deep threat. And just because I'm saying go out there and let him be a deep threat doesn't mean that Bryce Young has to target him deep down the field. His speed can take a lot of pressure away from the players underneath, like JT Sanders, and the same with Jalen Coker and Tedero McMillan. Just having him out there and you run those safeties away from the box, it opens up the run game with the Carolina Panthers, and it will help out Rico, and the same with Chuba Hubbard. Stick to the run game here. Even if it's not working out early in the matchup against the Atlanta Falcons, you can wear them down. But Bryce Young has to play better. Bryce Young has to be in a better rhythm, like how he was against the Miami Dolphins, and the same against the Dallas Cowboys. Going back to last season, he did a very good job of dealing with pressure against Kansas City, and the same against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons. They need that Bryce Young in this matchup. They don't need him to have 300 passing yards and 4 passing touchdowns against Atlanta because you play into their hands with their passing defense, but you need to take that pressure off of them. And the one thing I'll give credit to with Dave Canales, and I feel like he has been a very good head coach overall this season, especially in certain games this year. You need to move around Tedero McMillan just a little bit more. The first 4 games this year, primarily an outside wide receiver. Last couple weeks, they put him inside the slot. I know a big physical wide receiver inside the slot may not be ideal, but you give him more space to work with. You can run tunnel screens out there, have those blockers in front. And now, instead of being in 2nd and 10, now you're in 2nd and 6, 2nd and 3. Now you can just only run the football for 3 yards, back to a first down. Situational football. That is what they did against the Green Bay Packers. They worked off the clock, they worked off the run game, and they played to their strengths. That's what you have to do in this game. And Bryce Young cannot be late on out routes anymore. If you're late on an out route, 9 times out of 10, you throw an interception, it's going to go for a pick 6. And the same with those end breakers. That's what I mean. The timing has to be better with Bryce Young. But they need more out of him in this game, and the execution needs to be better with the players as well. And Dave Canales needs to make adjustments at halftime if the run game is not working. Move these wide receivers around to open up the run game. And they need these wide receivers to step up. Far as the offensive line here, they're very inconsistent last season, but this is still one of the better offensive line units to have in the National Football League. With Icky at the left tackle position, Damian Lewis left guard, Cade Mace has been a very good starting center since Austin Corbett went down. You have Chandler at the right guard position. Not ideal because Robert Hunt is on IR. But Chandler isn't a terrible player to have. And you have Taylor Moton at the right tackle position, a big veteran that you can lean on in tough situations. Bryce just has to be better. And this is the one thing as well. When he deals with that pressure from the A-gap, he has to stop that spin move to the left side of the field. They're starting to play contained coverage on him constantly. That is what the Saints did against him. And that's what the Green Bay Packers did as well. He can't take dumb sacks in this one. If he feels that pressure, just put the football into the dirt. Or run to the outside to escape that pressure. More towards the right side than spinning around. Because if he does evade the pressure, he's so far back now. He's 10 to 15 yards back. The next thing you know, the right side of the offensive line is collapsed. Now Bryce Young is prone open to more defenders coming to him, coming to his face on the back end. And once again, this is one of those situations where Bryce Young is basically hurting himself here. He has to do a better job of just dealing with pressure and stop spinning out towards the left side of the offensive line. That has nothing to do with coaching. That's more so on Bryce. But if he can play better in this one, it's a good chance that the Carolina Panthers could walk out with a win. And Rico last week averaged 3 yards a carry. Did have a rushing touchdown. Chuba Hubbard, 3 carries, 14 rushing yards, averaged 5 yards a carry. Mix in both the running backs in this matchup more. Obviously, you're going to give Rico majority of the carries. He's the hot hand. But give Chuba Hubbard more carries in this matchup against the Atlanta Falcons and use those guys in the receiving game as screen receivers underneath. Far as the defense for the Carolina Panthers, you have the blueprint against Michael Penix Jr. and the Atlanta Falcons. They run a lot of pistol. You have a heavy formation in terms of big players up front that should be able to hit Bijan Robinson in the backfield. With Derrick Brown, who is one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL in terms of stopping the run and getting to the quarterback on a consistent basis. Tershawn Ward is a very underrated player. 2 sacks in the season. Very good player to have alongside someone like Derrick Brown. A'Shawn Robinson, we know what he brings to the table. He's not going to go out there and get a bunch of sacks in the season. Per run stopper. You have Nick Scorchrin, who has been a solid player this year in his rookie season. 3 sacks on the year. The edge rushing position by itself is not the best for the Carolina Panthers. But when they send in that blitz, that's going to put more pressure on the quarterback. Go out there with heavier sets to stop this run game with Bijan Robinson. They need Christian Roseboom to have a big game against the Falcons here. But you need to sit on top of those routes with Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Take away Drake London as much as possible and force Kyle Pitts to go to other options on the field. You can have Lathan Ransom over the top overseeing the middle of the field, and they've done a very good job since they've given him more snaps against the tight end position. Going back to the first 2 weeks of the season, they struggled against the tight end position. That hasn't been the case since they allocated more snaps to Lathan Ransom. And Lathan Ransom is questionable for this matchup. But he should be able to play. It's just a hand injury. You have Trayvon Moring as well. J.C. Horn, one of the best cornerbacks in the game. Mike Jackson is a solid number 2 cornerback, but be on lookout for him in this one if he's matched up with Darnell Mooney. He struggled against speed wide receivers in the past, and especially this season. DJ Wonnum, you need more out of him as well. 1 interception on the season, but they didn't get him to be a pass covering linebacker. They brought him in to be a pass rusher. But the defense here with the Carolina Panthers is not the reason why they've lost games this season. I know last year they gave up a lot of rushing yards. In the first matchup against Bijan Robinson, he had 13 carries, 72 rushing yards. It's not ideal, but you still won that matchup 30-0. Play that off coverage on these wide receivers and the same on the tight end, and you should be fine. But the primary focus in this one should be go out there and stop Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier as much as possible. And don't sleep on Bobby Brown, who is also a very good run stopper with the Carolina Panthers. With all that being said, this is a tough game to call. Both teams right now, they don't look to be in a good spot offensively. With Michael Penix Jr. struggling with his accuracy and the same with Bryce Young struggling overall. I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons in this one. They are the home team. It's hard to beat the same team twice in the season. But I have the Atlanta Falcons winning in a close matchup. I have them winning this game 23 to 17. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have taking this matchup, the Carolina Panthers or the Atlanta Falcons? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys to stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.